The scarlet color faded, revealing Mu Bai's true face. Aside. Brush, the smoke fell. A figure in a yellow hero suit appeared. Ah. It's actually you. Seeing Mu Bai's face clearly, Saitama was startled. The next moment, he turned around. Aren't you the one who draws cartoons? Mu Bai rolled his eyes. Good guy. Dare this guy to sign autographs, there is no fan effect. I just love that comic. Mu Bai is not afraid to reveal his identity in front of Saitama. Anyway, Saitama will not hype with the media, so it doesn't affect anything. Haha. I want to thank you. Saitama suddenly touched his bald head and smiled. If you hadn't acted in time, I'm afraid the city just now would have disappeared. Saitama is a little embarrassed. For a moment, he forgot about it. However, after being invincible, he has never had such concerns. Any fight is a one-punch solution. Now that I think about it, I'm just so scared. Nothing. Mu Bai shook his head slightly. This is the real Saitama after all. One Punch Man, the bald-headed Demon King. No one can withstand since ancient times, the existence of a flat crit. However, now that the battle is over, Mu Bai doesn't plan to stop. Under Saitama's puzzled eyes, he took out the reduced version of the supercar in his pocket, and then the scarlet color of his hands flowed. Brush. The shrunken version of the supercar immediately returned to its original shape. Wow. Saitama's eyes lit up. What kind of magic is this? As he spoke, he stretched out his fingers and touched the supercar in front of him. Hard to the touch, totally true. On the opposite side, Mu Bai had already opened the door. Boarding. Roll down the window, the sound comes out. Saitama then reacted. Okay. Then he immediately opened the car and sat in the co-pilot. Looking at all the novelties in the supercar, his face was full of joy. Look around. Move here and poke. The excitement at this moment completely forgot the intense battle just now, and even forgot the embarrassment that the entire B city was almost destroyed. For this guy, Mu Bai can only smile wryly. Innocent, free, and interested in becoming a hero. Fortunately, this guy remembers to fasten his seatbelt. Whoosh, with one kick of the accelerator, the entire supercar galloped out. 10 minutes later, supercar stopped in Z City. Thank you for taking me back. Saitama conveyed a smile. It's nothing, it's easy. Mu Bai replied. And looking at the city called Ghost Town in front of you. In the strong perception, there is not a single household in the whole city. All buildings are empty. The surrounding buildings are also in a mess. Even the surrounding buildings, where the steel is rusted, may collapse at any time. Mu Bai knew very well that it was the weird society that lived underground here. Try to fill the ground with a powerful feeling. But there seems to be an invisible shield covering a certain area below. Mu Bai didn't want to startle the snake, and hurriedly quit his perception. Saitama standing in front of him was about to wave goodbye. If you have time, you can come to the manga club to find me, the latest manga will be released soon. Mu Bai's voice came. Hearing this, Saitama's eyes lit up immediately. Really? Well, really. Get a confident answer. Saitama's whole person became extremely excited. You must know that in this boring life, it is comics, who have been with him all the time. It has always enriched his spirit. Don't let the slowly disappearing emotions completely disappear. Whoosh, with a kick of the accelerator, the supercar galloped away into the distance. Looking at the supercar going away, Saitama's smile got even bigger. It's nice to be rich, but this rich man is really easy to get in touch with. I just don't know that if you go to the comic society, you won't have something to eat. Even better if there is. With that in mind, he turned and walked into the abandoned city behind him. And at the same time, after just out of sight of Saitama, Mu Bai stopped at the perimeter of City D. The excited look and the calm just now are completely different. Because, the new sign-in has been completed. As for the reward, it will be announced at this moment. Sign-in reward. The power of God of Destruction, a trace. Such a line of words appeared in the field of vision. After a second of calm, frantic excitement followed. Puff puff, the little heart beat faster. For a time, Mu Bai had some adrenaline rush. The power of the God of Destruction. Know that this is the power of the God of Destruction. For this word, perhaps most people are a little unfamiliar. But Mu Bai knew exactly what those words meant. God of Destruction. From the Japanese comic, Dragon Ball, the God of Destruction has been sleeping in the universe, and once the God of Destruction wakes up, he will destroy countless planets. To achieve satisfaction. The reason for destroying the planet that is about to be destroyed is to achieve balance in the entire universe. And to be clear, the god of destruction can easily destroy planets. No matter how high the combat power of this universe is. No matter how strong this cosmic warrior is. Under the god of destruction, everything can be crushed. The footprints of the god of destruction are also unstoppable. And this can be completely crushed, the so-called god-level disaster in this world. In the world of One Punch Man, god-level disasters herald disasters that can destroy entire planets. Instead, be clear about the destructive power of the god of destruction. But the whole universe. It was not until the rise of the Saiyans in Dragon Ball that Goku, the protagonist, had the strength to fight the god of destruction. The most famous is the god of destruction in the 7th universe. Beerus. If it weren't for the food on the earth, I am afraid that when I wake up, the earth has completely disappeared. And at this time, the sign in reward turned out to be this. How could Mu Bai not be excited? Although it is only a trace, this can already go sideways in this world. Is it fusion? The system prompt came. Gudong. Swallowed. Only then did Mu Bai nod, immediately fuse. Sudden. A burst of scarlet energy instantly expanded, forming a sphere of about 5 meters, wrapping around Mu Bai's body and enveloping Mu Bai. The scarlet light is covered with special patterns, and a trace of color stripes flows along the brilliance of these scarlet colors. Fortunately, City Z is a city like no man's land. Otherwise, this peculiar scene at this time will definitely scare people's little hearts. Inside the scarlet ball of light, Mu Bai suddenly felt the chaotic magic in his body erupt. Afterwards, a faint but terrifying power flowed slowly. Chaos magic and Mu Bai have coexisted together. Even chaos magic, feeling this terrifying power, faintly trembled. A powerful perception passes through the body. This terrifying power even made Mu Bai's little heart tremble. If this trace of power accidentally flows out, everything around him will vanish in an instant. This trace of strength, and the vitality of Wei Yin and Saitama are a bit of a fight. But not enough. Because Saitama never broke out, all the terrifying forces were all curled up in the body, hidden from view. So from the appearance, Saitama looks like an ordinary person. And this is only revealed when the power of a punch is released, that destructive energy. At this time, this trace of power was comparable to that of Saitama's explosive punch. And that's just a hint of. If you replace it with the full version of God of Destruction. You don't have to think about it. With just one punch, the entire universe may be wiped out. So, the power of the god of destruction is so terrifying. At this moment, Mu Bai secretly clicked his tongue. That being said, the fusion didn't stop there. This trace of golden power floated on the scarlet surface, and then slowly approached Mu Bai. Whoosh, golden brilliance flashed by. Following Mu Bai's fingertips, it has penetrated into the body. Mu Bai closed his eyes suddenly. Suddenly, a new second. The golden energy that entered Mu Bai's body suddenly expanded. The transformed golden brilliance began to flow through Mu Bai's limbs and 5 orifices. Not only that, a terrifying sense of relief made Mu Bai speak out. This golden power has just produced a large amount of heavy pressure, but at this moment, it is like the ultimate rain of life, madly nourishing any cell in Mu Bai's body. A trace of energy flows through the body, but it seems to be endless. The continuous expansion of the fusion power of the cells, and even the power of the god of destruction, completely propped Mu Bai's body to a limit. There is not a trace of pain, as if life is beginning to sublime at this moment. Upon closer inspection, Mu Bai's body seemed to be connected into threads at this time, and the golden energy flowed between the 4 threads, flying from one cell to another. In just an instant, all cells were saturated. The power of the god of destruction is completely dominant, and it is truly integrated into Mu Bai's limbs and 5 orifices. Thoroughly strengthened Mu Bai's torso, the scarlet-colored chaotic magic seems to exist like a spirit. The two coexist peacefully and complement each other. And this feeling seems to have passed for a long time in Mu Bai's world. In the outside world, it is only about 5 seconds. After the fusion was completed, the scarlet ball of light that enveloped Mu Bai also indented into Mu Bai's body again. This comfortable feeling continues. Mu Bai didn't open his eyes. However, the world seems to have stopped at this moment. From the chirping of insects and birds from thousands of miles away, the leaves of flowers and plants blowing. The wind blows. In the busy city, there are mechanical collisions, and the horns of vehicles are one after another. The crowd was surging, and everyone's heartbeat was pounding. Chaos magic has broken through 5 cities unknowingly. It can be said that it has been strengthened to a certain extent. A leaf blows. Brush. Mu Bai suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed the falling leaves in front of him. The autumn wind is rising. Look at the big tree overhead. Mu Bai completely felt that return to basics. So, this is the ultimate state of mind. If it doesn't make a sound, it's a blockbuster. A movement is like a tsunami, breaking mountains and rivers with one punch. Finger pinch. Snapped, the leaves in his hands suddenly shattered into powder. It has even been broken into countless tiny molecules, scattered in the air. Raise your hand slowly. Make a fist. Boom. Immediately, the palm of the hand burst out with a sound of gas explosion. Terrorist power. Mu Bai was also a little surprised. This is just a trace of the power of the god of destruction, but how powerful is the full power of the god of destruction? Destroy the universe. Maybe when I watch the anime, I think it's amazing. But at this moment, in other words, if you really stand in front of the universe, observe everything in the universe, and feel your own insignificance, you will understand how terrifying it is to destroy the entire universe at that moment. And at this moment, Mu Bai felt, his physique has also been strong to a certain extent. The strengthening between cells directly strengthened his body, including what he knew, thought, felt and heard, and completely reached a new level. God of destruction. Not only his physique has been sublimated qualitatively. Compared with the strengthening of the body by chaos magic, it is almost one heaven and one underground. However, the particularity and breadth of chaos magic. However, it far exceeds the power of the god of destruction, which simply strengthens the power system. Breathe slowly. The two coexist and complement each other in the body. This breath and breath seem to be like the universe is spinning and time is passing. This powerful feeling. For a while, Mu Bai had a certain resonance with the universe. Maybe, this is the essence of the god of destruction. Just like the god of destruction in Dragon Ball. Why can only choose those planets that can be destroyed? Sometimes destroy to your liking, but most can follow the rules of the universe. Even if there was only a trace, Mu Bai felt the sublimation of life. He hesitated a little. Mu Bai suddenly withdrew his senses, and all the senses were withdrawn into his body. And as all perception sinks back into the body, only then can we achieve the true return to nature, the unity of spirit and flesh. Chaos magic remains, sensing the two surrounding cities. It is no longer a flower, a plant and a tree, but a rough world. Strong strength is also a burden. Haha. Shaking his head slightly, Mu Bai got into the supercar. Hum one foot on the throttle. The whole person rushed out. Back home. Mu Bai went straight to the studio. Feeling a little bit, the tornado is not at home. Should I go to the Hero Association again? Muttering in a low voice, Mu Bai turned on the computer. Familiar input URL, then open the login account. Including the information on the left to the data on the right, it is all the feedback from the comics. After all, this work has just been published, and Mu Bai's valuation is around 1,000 people. This is already a very good start. Log in to the author account and open the background information. The specific data comes into view. Sudden. Mu Bai was stunned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-digit collection. How can this be? A full 6-digit number, a collection of numbers, appeared in front of him. This represents. The collection has now reached 100,000. Remove the odds. 600,000. Is there a problem in the background? Such thoughts immediately surfaced. After all, this work has only been published for a day. What can you do in a day? Take 10 hours of class, play 5 games, eat many apples. Eat 3 lunches. And in this short period of time, if someone told you, the number of people following you exceeded 600,000. How would you feel? First, it's unbelievable. Second, is this fake? Mu Bai was stunned. How can this be? How could such a thing happen? You must know that the popularity of comics cannot be so high in a short period of time. Everything has a natural law, there is a data. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. No matter how popular Blade of Ghostslayer is, no matter how conferred a god, it will not be a short story. Mu Bai still didn't believe it in his heart. Because the work of Ghostslayer's blade began to be rendered in the early stage, and the foreshadowing was constantly buried. No matter how powerful it is, there are people who open the scene, but it cannot achieve the effect of infecting everyone. The most fascinating part of this story is in the middle. After a series of hardships, the protagonist finally gained strength, and his eyes shifted from the person beside him to the world. Responsibility is on the rise. This is the tone of the whole work. And now Bai has only published an article. This is just a short beginning. The next moment, Bai opened the work without hesitation. The cover and introduction of the work, and even the preferred content of the interception, appear in front of you, including flowers from all readers and tips. 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000. Reading the last bit, Bai was even a little excited. I'm afraid no one understands how a creator will feel after seeing these gains. Not a full sense of accomplishment, nor joy, rather, a breakthrough. A recognized. Even in one day, this reward has already exceeded 10,000. Compared with the meager income in the past, the current income is simply exaggerated. Crunch. Bai clenched his fist slightly. This was indeed a good start, and once again it overruled Bai's wavering thoughts. Next to it are collections and gifts of flowers. For each reader's account registered on this website, the number of flowers per day is fixed. But looking at the number that is still growing wildly in Bai's eyes, imperceptibly, there was a trace of fighting spirit. At this moment, he finally had a clear idea. Devil's Blade. I'm angry. Not only was it on fire, but the fire was a mess. This start is simply too surprising, even explosive. Update quickly. Did the author run away with money? Don't be afraid, as a new author, we will support you. I believe you are a successful author, come on. Flip through the comments below the works, each one is so solid and powerful. And each one comes from the heart of the reader. Perhaps it is this kind of mood that creates the power of creators to create step by step. What kind of power this is? Powerful, wrapped in countless forces. At this moment, Bai's calm heart actually trembled. And at this moment, Bai finally determined a goal. That is, the work of the Blade of Ghostslayer must be completely updated, not only for income, but also to improve the society and understanding of this work. However, Bai knows, if there is no real point, it is impossible to move the earth. It's like, there is no reason why works can't be so hot. Finally, flip through the comments. 1. It seems that the authors that Mask Sweetheart follows are also so good. Masquerade fans are here. Seeing this, Bai finally calmed down. Masquerade Sweetheart. Rank a hero number 1. Touching his chin, Bai murmured. I have always regarded the first place in a rank as a goalkeeper. His real strength has reached S rank, but he has never been able to accept his eccentric strength. And according to what Bai's Mask Sweetheart knows, this man is strong. Not only has a strong strength, but also has a strong heart. He has been invaded by eccentric forces, but he can still stand on the side of humans to become a hero and save the world. The most annoying thing is the source of his power. In the final battle, he was moved by Saitama's unintentional actions. Finally choose to accept everything. Even if he turns into a monster, he fights for human beings. Carry out the hero's name. Such existence is indeed hard to forget. Take back your mind. I didn't expect it to be related to Mask Sweetheart. Bai did not hesitate to open the collection. The number of favorites is still skyrocketing, and it has exceeded 100,000 in a short period of time, and the favorite is the one with the most likes. Exactly, Masquerade Sweetheart. The author, please update quickly. This is my message. That being the case, then do it. After all, this is the result of everyone's joint efforts. Bai's grip loosened slightly. There was a cartoon about the Blade of Ghostslayer in his brain. The information was clear again, and he waved his hand. The crimson light enveloped the brush next to it. I saw that the paint flew by itself, and the colors merged, and the brush floated up and down. One stroke at a time, outline this work again. Bai is fully immersed to enter, but I don't know. At this time, Hero Association. He seems like a god descended from the earth. One-handed scarlet magic saves everyone from danger. We're sure he's a hero. Just don't know where he is, who he is. He not only saved City D, but even City B. Hero. I'm your fan. Dark conference room. At this time, it was full of leaders and some heroes. The projector in front of you casts the screen of the live interview. There are reports of war correspondence, and speeches from the rest of the world. There is no falsification, everyone comes from the heart. Countless people wept with joy. This is an experience that has only been experienced after experiencing despair. And these all are collected information about that man who uses scarlet magic. This moment. Everyone was silent. No one knew who the man was, or even what purpose he was saving everyone from. You can only tell this is a man by the vaguely visible clothing. Get the magic of scarlet color. Pulled almost in the blink of an eye, fallen giant. How much power is required for this to be clearly understood by everyone present? Because just 2 minutes ago, the giant had been completely solved, and the report on the giant had also been submitted. Here is the Hero Association. This is where the heroes gather. In this world, the Hero Association that completely stands on the side of ordinary people and saves everyone from danger. Sudden. What an interesting person indeed. The bald-headed muscular man who had been silent the whole time spoke up. With his arms around his chest, his muscles exploded, exuding a steel-like, black beauty. Although he is bald, he looks muscular and somewhat simple-minded. But no one present would underestimate him. Super alloy black light. The existence of the 11th S-class hero. The combat power is extremely terrifying, and what is even more terrifying is that this body is simply hard, stronger than the muscles of steel, and the existing conventional weapons cannot break the defense at all. At this time, his eyes were full of affirmation. The man with the scarlet color on his face in the video does not know all the information, but he can get the affirmation of everyone on the scene, and even save everyone from danger. A hero indeed. This reminded him of the significance of the hero he implemented. However, the voice of the super alloy black light did not fall. Humph. The same girl just snorted coldly. What if this is a freak conspiracy? I can run over such a weak enemy with one hand. She made a fist with her right hand, rumbling. The ground seemed to be shaking. With dark green hair, his body floats in the air, as if overcoming the gravitational pull of the earth. That's right, it's Mubai's wife, Mr. Tornado. The trembling tornado, the second-ranked hero in the S tier. Not one of the most powerful heroes known to date. Except for the blasting, this guy hasn't appeared in many years. Hearing Tornado's words, the others present immediately looked at each other, but could not answer. Because it turned out to be so. The person who solves the problem is Tornado, let alone this mysterious person, even the others present can't compare with him. Fortunately, Mubai is not here, otherwise it would be a mouthful of old blood. Indifference was written in Tornado's pair of pupils. This gaze suddenly came from the darkness, and there were 3 scratches on the right cheek, and the man's face was drawn. Pain, pain. There was an engine-like sound from the man's chest. Imperial engine. Whispering softly, the Tornado could not help but restrain slightly. This person is what everyone calls the strongest on the surface. S-class 7th ranked king. The start of the Emperor's engine made the other people who were just about to speak immediately silenced. At this moment, the old man who had been sitting suddenly stood up. We still have to contact first, determine the other party's purpose and identity information, and adopt the absorption mode as much as possible. After all, for human beings, this will be a good hero. The old man stepped out of the darkness, and a gleam of light fell. He has long white hair and a white beard, and the whole person is slightly hunched. Hearing this, many people nodded secretly. Obviously, the old man is very prestigious. Even the Tornado on the side snorted and turned his head. The old man is the 3rd-ranked S-rank hero in the Hero Association. The hero's name is Silver Fang, Mr. Bang Gu. With one hand, Liu Sui's shattering fist is an invincible hand in the world. He is a master of traditional martial arts. He is also a powerful hero who cannot be underestimated. The controller in the dark finally nodded. That's it for the discussion about this new hero. Snapped. Lights on. This time, all faces appeared in the light. 6 S-class heroes, including Drive Knight and Tong Di, are on the list. This also counts, in history, in addition to dragon-level disasters. The largest regular meeting of S-class heroes. Everyone knows that. What is the purpose of this meeting when the power holders have gathered heroes here? That is Noxon. The new hero's first-hand magical abilities are beyond imagination. Not only did it prevent 2 dragon-level disasters, it even had an indelible impact on the hearts of the people. The influence is not small, and this is the key to the selection. S-class. It's definitely an S-class. Pushing his glasses, the fat man in power immediately said. It's a pleasure for everyone to attend the meeting. I also appreciate everyone's valuable comments. Next time I'll make contact and take advice. Once successful, I believe that there will be another powerful warrior in the ranks of our S-class heroes in the near future. Hero. For this world's peace, for everything in hell. This voice sums up all decisions. although S-class heroes are largely not mobilized by the association. But the appearance of Mu Bai is no trivial matter. Note that Mu Bai's eyes are not only on the people in power in front of him, but even all decision-makers are involved. What does it mean to be an S-class hero? This, including everyone present, everyone knows it well. End of the meeting. Except for Tong Di and Dragon Roll, everyone else left. Although the driving knight did not make a statement from the beginning to the end, when he left, his eyes stayed on the information in front of him for 2 more seconds. At this time, the tornado lying on the operating table suddenly made a sound. Tong Di, use your clever little head to guess who he is. How did I know? Tong Di rolled his eyes. How can such a thing be guessed? Although he was dubbed the title of the strongest brain, he was not the strongest god. He's not a genius. Hey, there are a lot of people on the internet comparing me to this guy, it's so boring. Tornado sighed. If only this guy was as strong as the internet says. Fireworks flickered in her eyes. Tong Di on the side was startled. Tornado, the idea, very dangerous. Huh, it's finally done. Seeing the completion of all the drawings in front of him, Mu Bai took a long breath. Picking up the cartoon on the table, the fine lines and perfect details on it fully explain what a god-level painter is. According to the current chaos magic of Mu Bai, using magic to do this is just a piece of cake. Without hesitation, I went straight to the manga club with these drawing goals. Under the influence of chaos magic, the gloomy room has disappeared, and the flowers immediately rebloom. This time there is no need for secondary machining with precision tools. Using the scanner directly, Ichiba anime was uploaded to the network immediately. This time, the goal is complete, and after finishing the 3 volumes, it is the protagonist who finally clarifies his goal. As the upload completes, Mu Bai's heart was finally at ease. Not only did this mark a new start, but it was also a huge hit to revenue. Since Volume 2, it has all been set as paid content, as one of the main sources of income. Unexpectedly, as soon as it was uploaded, the number of clicks increased wildly. Even in this world, the internet is still developed, and the spiritual products that all netizens expect are so popular. Even if it's just marked for a very low price. But can't stand the crowd. Looking back, today is also a good harvest. When I got home, the tornado had already returned, and I sat on the seat and kept flipping the tablet in my hand. Looking at something, I am just full of interest. Mu Bai didn't bother. However, the voice of the ant in the kitchen came immediately. Master, Miss asked me to help you today. Your cooking skills seem to interest Miss. Good. Mu Bai nodded lightly. Although his face was expressionless, he couldn't contain his inner excitement at all. To conquer a man's heart, one must conquer his stomach. The same applies to women. It can be seen that the tornado is still the same. The food will be ready in no time. It's all Chinese food, which fully showcases Mu Bai's craftsmanship. A delicious meal is on the table. It immediately caught the attention of the tornado. The number of meals that the kitchen auntie in the family can cook is very large, but it seems that Mu Bai has never had a meal like this in his hands. Picking up the chopsticks, the dragon roll took the first bite. Then, it couldn't stop. Mu Bai couldn't help laughing bitterly when he saw the snack food's dry rice appearance. Take off the apron and also come to the table. A meal is carried out in such an environment. I don't know how to do this strategy from the very beginning. Now the first step strategy is completed. Mu Bai breathed a sigh of relief. The corner of his eye also seemed to notice what the tornado was flipping through. Devil's Blade, the uploaded comic tornado, has been serialized to the latest place. It even looks like it's still a big push. Mu Bai did not expect this. But think about it, in this world where technology is so advanced, these publications are the same for everyone. Mu Bai is not in a hurry either. After eating and drinking and yawning, the tornado floated in the air and went back to his bedroom. Mu Bai opened the news. There are many speculations about the identity of the new hero. But obviously, everyone maintains a very respectful attitude towards the emergence of new heroes. 2 times to save the people from danger, and the terrifying magical ability has conquered everyone. The Association of Heroes has previously issued a notice that from now on, new heroes can go to the Association of Heroes for verification. As long as the verification is passed, new heroes can join the Hero Association from now on. Oh, yes, the position is S-Class Hero. The host on the news had a serious tone. The announcement of the Hero Association also appeared on the message bar beside him. Completely public. S-Class. Mu Bai touched his chin. Obviously, this is a recruitment letter for the Hero Association. The Hero Association is really so generous. You must know that all the current S-Class heroes are selected and respected step by step. To become an S-Class hero, the biggest condition is to have a combat power that surpasses that of most heroes. This point directly denied countless people. Mubai is clear. After reaching the S rank, it is no longer just a question of rank. This means greater responsibility. Flip through comments. How can he afford an S-Class hero? Obviously it's just grandstanding. It's okay to shoot other heroes even at the most critical moment. Maybe A-level hero Tentacles can solve the battle at the critical moment, he just picked up a bargain. There are also many objections in the comments. Mubai shook his head secretly. No matter which world there will be trolls, you don't need to pay attention. But, verify. Mubai is not in a hurry. It will not be long before Saitama goes to the Hero Association for verification. At this time, Genos was only attracting attention, and was not rated as an S-Class hero. Just then the second news appeared. Since recently, mosquitoes have suddenly increased in all cities. Please ask our experts to interpret it. Immediately, experts appeared in the news. After hesitating for a while, the expert immediately said seriously. Actually, I don't know either. Get out. The host was angry. Okay, Mubai's mouth twitched. The expert's exit was too hasty. However, more mosquitoes. Does this mean a new catastrophe is on the horizon? The corners of Mubai's mouth twitched slightly. The last time the Saitama battle scene directly signed in the God of Destruction, I just don't know what the next battle will be. There was some expectation in my heart. 2 days passed in a hurry. Nothing major happened these 2 days. However, the popularity of the publication of comics on the internet has been fully demonstrated. And, the recruitment letter for the Hero Association has also been converted to full-time. As long as the news is broadcast, there will definitely be such news. On the first day, everyone was excited. Countless people who were rescued by Mubai cheered. Because this not only marks that there is a new hero in the Hero Association. And, this marks, they can clearly know the hero's identity and appearance. Seems to be infected. Countless people on the internet began begging for the emergence of heroes. Under such an atmosphere of rendering, the high-level leaders of the Heroes Association held a meeting. One by one the victories are in hand. After all, the people get what they want. Stable. And even after 2 days passed, Mubai still did not appear. This made new comments on the internet involuntarily appear. But Mubai didn't care. The income brought by comics has reached as much as hundreds of thousands, and this is only the first 3 volumes. In 2 days, Mubai managed to spread the manga to the 7th volume. Regarding the experience of the follow-up protagonist Tanjiro, the final plot has also been launched. At the same time as the popularity is high, there is also a wave of craze on the internet. Finally, on this day, Mubai just finished publishing on the manga. I found out that the fat editor-in-chief once pushed in. Thin hair on his head, and an unbelievable look on his face. He grabbed the manuscript on the table. Unbelievable. Too unbelievable. The editor-in-chief narrowed his eyes. He howled, leaving little hair. The manuscript in his hand completely shows that the cartoons that are all the rage on the internet are created by Mubai in front of him. How is this possible? Looking at Mubai in front of him, his eyes were full of shock. After all, not long ago, this was just a talented author. But now. Hello. Mubai smiled slightly. Compare the scene of the first time the two meet. And previous treatment. Mubai's eyes were indifferent, without a trace of waves. Compared with this kind of capitalist who cannibalizes art, Mubai has no good feelings in his bones. Suddenly, the fat man grabbed Mubai's sleeve. No matter what conditions you have for your dismissal, please be sure to publish it here. At this moment, the positions of the two people are completely reversed. From a mighty editor-in-chief to a dog at the moment. However, Mubai's heart was filled with disgust. Sorry. Not interested. Withdrawing his hand, Mubai smiled lightly. Thank you for taking care of me before. It's just the sarcasm in his eyes, a little obvious. Turn around and keep busy. The fat man was stunned. Seeing Mubai's busy figure, and the comics he created before that did not sell well, compared to the explosion at this time. He definitely did it on purpose. Absolutely on purpose. Clenched fist. His mind was immediately filled with thoughts of revenge. The editor-in-chief of Fatty rushed out the door. After walking a few steps, he looked back at the manga club in front of him. A plan of revenge had already appeared in his mind. For the hostility, Mu Bai felt thoroughly. However, with the weak reaction of the fat editor, Mu Bai could squeeze it to death with a single finger. And at the same time, W City. Compared with the calm surface of the city, the underground world at this time is extremely lively. Evolution House. Countless identical scientists are strictly operating the machine. Once the jar that soaked a woman. Finally, in the expectation of all scientists, it slowly opened. Slamla, the green nutrient solution drains down the drain. I see. The original image of a woman in the jar has changed drastically at this time. The top of the head is similar to the sharp mouthparts of mosquitoes, and there are countless mosquito patterns on the body. Behind it, the wings as thin as a cicada's wings are like an enlarged version of the text, and the legs and arms are extremely slender and extremely sharp. The woman at this time. No, it should be called the mosquito girl. He looks peaceful with his eyes closed. However, the leading scientists are very clear that the creatures in front of them are definitely not as simple as they seem. Then, the scientist on the right manipulated the panel in front of him and mobilized the robotic arm in the distance. On the robotic arm is a large needle tube filled with red liquid. Full of blood. This is blood. Mobilize the robotic arm, slowly press the needle tube on it, and a huge drop of blood bubbles slowly dripped onto the mosquito girl's body. And the mosquito girl, who was silent and calm just now, suddenly opened my eyes. Brush. The wings that were as thin as cicada wings spread out suddenly. Here it is. Confused for 2 seconds, she looked at her arms and legs. I tried to flap the wings on my back. An uncontrollable force came, and in the next second, it suddenly appeared 50 meters away. Then came a tearing pain in my mind. With the recovery of her memory, she also remembered everything. Finally, she looked at the leading scientist in front of her. PhD, okay. The doctor nudged his glasses slightly. A smile immediately appeared on his face. This means that they. Success. Finally successful. Only purification is the ultimate king. Seeing you deny everything about me, I will eventually surpass you and become the strongest existence on the surface. Countless identical doctors looked at each other at this moment. They expressed the unfair treatment in their hearts, and looking at the mosquito girl in front of them shows that the experiment has been completely successful. In contrast, the mosquito girl in front of her was stable. Compared with the previously uncontrollable experiment, the mosquito girl in front of her has successfully combined all the powerful advantages of mosquitoes and can be manipulated. This is the ideal product of the evolutionary house. At this moment, the doctor issued an order. Very good, let's get acquainted with your strength. Yes. The mosquito girl immediately flapped her wings and backed away. And the test item in front of you has been completed, which means another plan could be implemented. Go and bring this bald man back to me. Snapped, an ordinary photo was thrown in front of other experimental subjects. In the photo, it is the bald devil wearing a yellow hero suit. This year's mosquito is a new breed. It has caused quite a disaster. Where the mosquitoes pass, all the livestock they encounter are sucked into mummified corpses. So all citizens please evacuate as soon as possible, please don't stay outside. A new bulletin appeared on the news. Although many people don't care about it. Until, on the news screen, livestock that were sucked into mummified corpses appeared. The whole body was only skin and bones, and all the blood was drained. Very scary. The kid playing football on the side of the road stopped immediately, his eyes full of shock. And the news broadcast by roadside newsstands also spread to the ears of passers-by. After stopping one after another, they gathered into a pile. The pictures in the news were all pictures of the animals being sucked into mummified corpses, and they looked absolutely horrific. Too frightening. A person suddenly sighed. At this time, the alarm sounded suddenly. The mosquito population is moving towards City Z. Please don't go out to the citizens of Z City. Repeat again. The sudden alarm sound made everyone pale. This was supposed to be an alarm that only appeared when disaster struck, but it suddenly appeared at this time. This seriously shows. The little mosquito disaster has grown into nothing less than a freak attack. And the appearance of such notifications is definitely not an exaggeration. For a while, the crowd dispersed. In less than 5 minutes, the road was immediately empty. Mu Bai just packed up. When I came out, I saw that countless shops had locked their doors and windows. Many people looked panicked and walked in their respective directions, their footsteps panicking. At this time, Mu Bai looked startled. Outside of several cities, countless weak lifeforms gathered together, and the lifeforms gathered in the middle reacted differently from the dragon-level monsters that had been achieved before. Everyone, please lock your doors and windows. Be sure to protect yourself until this disaster recedes. A voice came from a roadside newsstand. Bai just saw the scene captured by the surveillance camera. I saw countless mosquitoes flying in the air, connected into one, densely packed. It just makes my scalp tingle. If there is a dense phobia, I am afraid that it will faint on the spot. Mosquito girl. Bai reacted immediately. I didn't expect it to come so soon. The emergence of new disasters also means that new battlefields are about to appear. If that's the case, then some have signed up. Glimpsed from the corner of his eyes, the number of sign-ins on the system was twice, and the corner of Bai's mouth slightly raised. No longer hesitate. The whole body was filled with scarlet color, and Bai rose into the sky in an instant. Compared with the previous flight speed, it is more than 10 times more happy at this time. The wind whistled in his ears, and in the blink of an eye, Bai's figure had appeared in another city. At this time, flying high in the sky, Bai witnessed what is called mosquito tide. The dense number of mosquitoes gathered together, and wherever they went, there was almost nothing left. Pedestrians on the street didn't last even a second and were sucked into mummified corpses. The terrifying picture was captured by a drone. Bai could only grit his teeth slightly. This swarm of mosquitoes is extremely fast. Look in the direction you are heading. Z City. Bai recognized it at a glance. Otherwise, what to say, Mosquito Girl's behavior is completely old birthday star eating arsenic. It's just too long. However, Bai could not hesitate, and immediately flew towards Z City. Hum. Countless mosquitoes are flying in the sky. If anyone sees this scene, I am afraid they will be scared to death immediately. These mosquitoes are no small thing. Wherever it goes, no matter what creature it is, it will be sucked into a mummy in the blink of an eye. The blood evaporated instantly and all entered the stomachs of these mosquitoes. Disaster has formed. At this time, Bai's consciousness moved. He immediately looked to the right, on a tall building. There is a special-looking existence standing at the top of the high-rise building. With blonde fluffy hair, a cold face, and a pair of eyes, he stared coldly at the mosquito population flying by in front of him. Just as he was about to jump up to chase, he saw it. From the store below, a person walked out swaying, holding a crowbar in the left hand. This is a thief. Ha. It's just a little mosquito. I'm really scared to hide one by one. He threw the bag he was carrying in his right hand on the ground with a plop, causing dust to rise up on the ground. I saw all kinds of groceries placed in the bag, large and small. The man sighed. Today is really a bumper harvest. It's okay to be sucked by mosquitoes. Compared with the previous petty fights, this time it is a big vote. And the coolest part is that no one interferes, all the shops are closed and shrinking, and no one resists. Can only watch him take things away. Ha. A bunch of cowards. The man couldn't help but burst into laughter. And this laughter has alarmed the mosquito population flying in the air. Slamla the mosquito population, which was surging like the sea, immediately attacked the position of the man below. Not good. Gino's at the top of the high-rise building felt tight, and he hurriedly said, "Be careful. Get out of the way." But the man seemed to react. "Hide. What are you hiding?" The sudden exclamation startled him, and he looked left and right. "It's nothing. I thought it was a prank just now." Sudden, boom. A humming sound like a fighter jet suddenly flew overhead. He looks up. I saw that the dense and endless text attacked him, and the man was instantly stunned. Forget about dodging. Next moment, this swarm of mosquitoes completely surrounded it. Looking from the high-rise building, the dense mosquitoes wrapped the man in it, and it looked dark, and there were traces of the man. Gino's hurriedly jumped on the roof and was about to rush towards the ground. What? The man suddenly let out a piercing roar. The pain caused even Gino's, who was a mechanical body, to be moved slightly. In less than a second, the mosquito population left the man and flew into the distance. And this time, Blah Gino's landed steadily. However, he still gritted his teeth slightly. Damn it, one step late. I saw only a mummified corpse left on the ground. Before he died, his face was still left, and he was terrified. Freeze at this moment. Flying high in the sky, with countless tall buildings on the ground passing in front of Bai. Cannot help but sigh slightly. In the strong perception, although the surrounding real estate is blocked, there is a vitality in the high-rise building. But at that moment, the man in front of the shop on the ground had lost his life response. He died. It was only a second away from the mosquito attack. Not even for a second. Keeping the flight, Mu Bai closed his eyes slightly. The powerful perception instantly broke through the world and moved down from the top of the building. In the end, it was fixed on that mummified corpse. The clothes of the corpse were nearly shattered, and the dense holes in the body were extremely small but hard to ignore. These were all left by mosquitoes sucking blood. And deep inside, the man's bones are densely packed with holes. Take back the perception. Mu Bai opened his eyes. The disaster this time is probably the most terrifying one since the disaster. The ability of each mosquito is already equivalent to an ordinary mob's, with sharp mouthparts that can directly pierce the bones of the human body. The power of this can be imagined. Even ordinary A-level heroes can't compete at all. Mu Bai didn't stop. The countless buildings under his feet went behind him, and the speed of Mu Bai's flight suddenly doubled. After all, according to this death rhythm, maybe Mu Bai has not arrived yet, and Mosquito Girl has already fought with the bald-headed Demon King. On the ground, the doors of countless shops were closed, including the one that was robbed just now. Through the gap, the shopkeeper in red clothes peeked out secretly. The thief who stole something just now had turned into a mummified corpse, lying motionless on the ground. This terrifying scene made his face turn pale. And beside the mummy, Genos stood blankly. Next moment. Crunch. He clenched his fists, secretly swear. Never let anyone suffer again. Even if the person in front of him is really a thief, he is also a living human being, and it has become so riddled with holes in just 1 second. This disaster is too terrifying. And Genos, who made the hero his target, felt very powerless. Covering the mummy with tattered clothes, Genos bowed slightly. Then, boom, the whole person jumped up from the ground like a cannonball in the sky. The ground cracked, and the figure of Genos had arrived, the top of the tall building. The fast speed kept jumping, chasing the mosquito population in the distance. And the same moment, Saitama, who had just started watering the flowers in a good mood, gritted his teeth for a limited time and then continued to run wildly. Laugh. The large mosquito spray in his hand kept spraying transparent potions. Ah! Where to run? His eyes were red, and the veins on his forehead burst. This is simply the most difficult enemy he has ever encountered. And at this time, in the sky, under the blue sky and white clouds, the center of countless buildings is empty. The wings as thin as cicada wings flapped, and the entire life body that was driven stayed in the air. The sharp long thorns on the forehead exude a metallic color, extremely elite. There are countless mosquito patterns on the body of the living body. The tail is a large blood collection, and the arms and legs are completely the product of the mosquitoes magnified countless times. Yes, this is the Mosquito Girl. Ever since she realized that she had gained great power, she began to come to the city to reap the rewards. Moreover, Mosquito Girl has the ability to control mosquitoes. At this time, countless mosquitoes flew back densely from the distant sky. It's great, my children. Donate all the blood you collected to me. Mosquito Girl licked the corner of her mouth, and her face turned delicate. Next moment, countless mosquitoes wrapped Mosquito Girl in it and injected all the blood they collected into Mosquito Girl's tail. Ah, a charming voice came from the Mosquito Girl's mouth. This feeling of eating is simply too comfortable. The mosquitoes slowly dispersed. Mosquito Girl opened her eyes and flashed annoyance. You guys are too useless, go and collect more. She waved her hand. Not only in the city, but also in the surrounding forests, collect them all, I need more food. Under her control, these ignorant mosquitoes obeyed. One by one, flapping their wings crazily, they headed towards the surrounding mountains and forests. The green forest below is full of trees and countless weeds. In this unmanaged forest, there are countless animals. Since humans can hide in buildings, these animals have nowhere to hide. And also bring fresh food. Mosquito Girl's eyes are full of expectations. A little more, a little more. This feeling is simply too cool. The target has been confirmed. On the roof on the right, next to the huge lion building, Genos stretched out his right hand with a cold gaze. I saw a miniature flamethrower in the palm of my hand, and a strong flame burst out instantly, spraying towards the Mosquito Girl. Rumbling, the ground trembled. In the strong perception, Mu Bai is always staring at the surrounding plants and trees. Naturally, this powerful tremor could not escape his consciousness. The battle has begun. Then, Mu Bai saw that countless dense mosquitoes were shrouded in the surrounding mountains and forests, like a giant black net woven by the gods. In the green forest, Countless animals who saw this scene shivered. I tried to hide, but there was nowhere to hide. Where countless mosquitoes have passed, they have left corpses all over the place. The mummified corpses of animals are everywhere. Mu Bai no longer hesitated and waved his hands. Chaos magic suddenly launched a rich blood-red color, wrapping up towards the mountains and forests below. Since mosquitoes can be densely packed, chaos magic can naturally continue to infect. Like a burning flame, the first mosquito that was infected suddenly turned into powder and dissipated, and the huge population of mosquitoes was densely packed. The scarlet color also seems to be infected with a virus, and it is getting wider and wider. Under the destruction of chaos magic, the mosquitoes that infested the mountains and forests could not escape a single round at all. There are countless scarlet colors, as if they have vitality, more and more. In the sky of the mountain forest, a lot of black powder fell like dumplings immediately. But even so, the animals in the forest have been frightened. The little squirrel hiding in the treehole shivered and hugged the walnut in his arms. Rabbits on the ground gather in a pile, waiting for death to come. Even in the depths of the mountains and forests, the cattle and sheep domesticated by humans are constantly in the shed, beating uneasily, constantly biting and tying their ropes. For a time, the whole forest was in chaos. What was originally lush green, now lay a corpse. Rumbling, deep in the deep forest, the majestic wild boar constantly bombarded the ground with its hooves. As a social animal, wild boars are not few in number. And on the edge of the forest is a bustling town. At this time, although the town was prosperous, there was no one person, countless shops closed and became deserted, and there was no one person on the street. I could only vaguely find a pair of peeping eyes at the window. Under the powerful perception of chaotic magic, Mu Bai could feel these animals and felt very uneasy in his heart. One by one, holding the attitude of being fierce and not afraid of death, they wanted to launch a charge. But, if you launch a charge against the human city at this time, absolutely no one can stop it. It will also cause considerable damage to the city. Mu Bai is no hero, but something terrible has happened. He hesitated a little. Mu Bai closed his eyes. Waving hands. At this time, surrounded by countless mosquitoes, the almost extinct scarlet color began to cover a wider area at a faster speed. This time, the target was the frightened animals in the forest. Countless scarlet brilliance appeared incorrectly, covering all the animals. Help me. Woo. So scary. What should I do? Mama, save me. At the moment when chaos magic touches the animals, Mu Bai immediately understands all the heartfelt voices of these animals. And this also seems to be aware of countless eyes. In the face of the invasion of chaotic imitation, all animals have not yet reacted. The next moment, Mu Bai issued an order, quiet. This command issued like a supreme god, so that all animals could not compete. All the creatures that are enlightened and intelligent, at this moment, all turned into puppets, and under the arrangement of Mu Bai, the area covered by a huge scarlet color. It has also become a holding area for these animals. In less than 5 minutes, all the animals have been wrapped. Looking at the still dense mosquitoes in the sky, Mu Bai just wanted to use chaos magic to destroy it. I saw that these countless mosquitoes flew back. The battle in the city has already started, and the mosquito girl, who has not reached saturation with Gino's strength, can definitely gain the upper hand. As predicted, mosquitoes carrying blood flew back one by one. Mu Bai doesn't stop either. The figure that landed on the ground suddenly flew into the air. It's just that he didn't notice. A camera hidden in the dark recorded the complete process. Rumbling, on narrow streets. Gino suddenly stretched out his right hand, and the flamethrower in his hand suddenly exploded. Countless strong flames rose into the sky. However, the mosquito girl in the sky flapped her wings and spun around suddenly, dodging the attack. Mu Bai landed on a certain roof. The battle situation below can only be described as tragic. One of Gino's arms snapped, revealing the sturdy circuitry inside. Pop pop, electric sparks flicker. And this arm, at this time, was inserted into the mosquito girl's bee sting. However, it seems that Gino's adopted a tactic of injuring the enemy by 1,800, and mosquito girl's 2 legs broke from the thigh. Bagano's slammed into the pavement on the right. The situation is simply comparable. The target has been confirmed. Strike again. Gino's lips moved slightly. There was a stern mechanical sound. He was just about to attack. At this time. Countless deafening sounds came from the sky. I saw countless secret mothers sucking mosquitoes full of blood and wrapping the beautiful women again. Silly boy. My children are back. Just wait a moment. Prepare to die. Mosquito girl licked her lips, and could taste the food again. It feels so good. On the ground. Although I don't know what Mosquito girl wants to do. But Geno's always had a bad feeling about it. He no longer hesitated, and was about to make a move. Ah. Fight with me, don't go. Human voices suddenly came from the street on the left. I saw a man in short-sleeved shorts running towards this side with a large sprayer in his hand. Human. What is he doing? Geno's was slightly taken aback. Bai on the roof was also taken aback. Saitama. Why are you here now? Obviously, this guy who suddenly appeared is our bald-headed demon king. However, in the eyes of Geno's, he is just an ordinary person. Ah. Dedicated to dealing with mosquitoes, Saitama was startled when a machine suddenly appeared in front of him. Waiting for Saitama to speak, Geno's glanced nervously at the sky, then at Saitama. It's dangerous here, hurry up and go to a safe place. I saw countless mosquitoes in the sky, forming a big black ball. I don't know what the mosquito girl is doing at this time. But Geno's knew that this was definitely not a good thing. Bai also frowned slightly. The mosquito girl who has absorbed countless blood, the life system is slowly sublimating. Produced by Evolution House. Sure enough, it's not something inferior. Wow. So many mosquitoes. Saitama, the nerve-wracking man, came to his senses. And Geno's understood that he couldn't wait any longer. He could also sense the existence of the mosquito girl in this group of mosquitoes, and it was changing. And seeing the dense mosquitoes in front of you, this is simply a great opportunity. Extend your hands at the same time. Wow. I saw two extremely concentrated flames erupt suddenly. Next second. Rumbling, suddenly, a heat wave centered on Geno's and sprayed out, and even the countless surrounding streets were spread into it. This level of power directly melted the ground, and the surrounding buildings were instantly blackened. And the huge mosquito swarm just now was also burned out, and even the mosquito girls seemed to be burned to death. Phew. It's successful. Geno's finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, the next moment, the female laughing voice sounded. Ha 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 ha. Idiot. How come? Geno's suddenly looked up into the air. The mosquito girl at the beginning has changed into a new form at this time. The long pink hair fluttered in the wind, red fluff appeared on the body, and the pink wings kept flapping behind him. Sharp bee stings grew all over the body. The tail has evolved into a new look. Geno's could feel the coercion of the mosquito girl in front of him, and it increased again. Because I don't need them, mosquito girl explained, because. At this point, the voice paused slightly. The next moment, she suddenly waved her right hand, waving sharp bee stings at the tall building next to her. Boom. The tall concrete building burst open with a bang. Clap clap, countless huge stones fell to the ground. The terrifying speed made Geno's pupils shrink. This speed can't catch him at all. Slicing an object is only for a moment, and using huge brute force to forcibly smash the building. The monster in front of you. The combat power is simply terrifying. Next second. Mosquito girl said again, I'm already so powerful, ha ha ha. The mosquito girl burst out laughing. Geno's was slightly startled. It was the first time he had encountered such a powerful monster. And that's the 1 second pause. A bright red color suddenly appeared behind him. It's a mosquito girl. Base. The position of the hands was immediately made, and the iron and steel claws were expected to be hard and invincible. Whoosh, in the blink of an eye, a cold light flickered. Pop, with the loud sound of electricity, half of Geno's body was suddenly cut open, revealing the complex mechanical circuits inside. Geno's gritted his teeth slightly. Immediately clenched his right fist and called towards Mosquito Girl. However, Mosquito Girl suddenly disappeared. The figure suddenly appeared in the air, and her speed had broken through to a certain extent. Geno's eyes couldn't keep up. Bang! One kick kicked Geno's high into the air. If that's the case, then die. Ha ha ha. The Mosquito Girl suddenly laughed loudly. The figure suddenly turned into a purple whirlwind, hovering in the air, invisible to the naked eye. Opposite roof. Dragon level medium. Bai murmured softly. He squinted slightly. The current evolution of Mosquito Girl is strong enough to crush the Vaccine Man, or completely hang the giant. The House of Evolution really lives up to its reputation. However, Bai did not take it to heart. High in the air. Bang bang bang. Geno's has been in a passive state, passively beaten. The evolved Mosquito Girl nosed sharply on her claws, constantly cutting through Geno's body, leaving traces on Gino's body one after another. At this time, Gino's didn't even have the strength to resist. Like a tragic marionette being beaten frantically. The figure is constantly falling, and his body surface has exposed the mechanical synthesis part inside. Gino's clenched his teeth tightly. So, has it come to this point? His eyes were instantly filled with despair. It turned out that what he felt just now was right. He was full of blood to a certain extent, and the mosquito girl in front of him already possessed such a terrifying strength. And he, being beaten to pieces by the mechanical body, can only use the last move. Close your eyes slightly and let the wreckage fall to the ground. And its core part, at this time, suddenly burst out with a dazzling blue light. Oh, blow yourself up. Mu Bai felt the power of a missile explosion from the blue light. In the sky, Mosquito Girl also noticed something wrong. Base. A long bayonet erupted from the claws again, and the figure flying in the air suddenly doubled in speed. Almost instantly, he came to Gino's. Kill you. The Mosquito Girl snorted coldly. What? This surprised Gino's. Self-exposure takes 2 to 3 seconds to unlock all security programs. However, once interrupted, he will also become a useless electromechanical body. Ah. Saitama is still bewildered. He touched his head. What is he doing? Not good. Mu Bai was suddenly alert. Extend your right hand and clench it slightly. Seeing that the legend was about to be hacked to death at this very moment, Mu Bai waved his hand immediately. Hum in the air that was indifferent just now, a scarlet color suddenly appeared. Different from the dark red on Mosquito Girl, this scarlet color was extremely rich. In just the blink of an eye, Mosquito Girl was already tightened. This sudden change, even Mosquito Girl could not detect it. But the next second, what's this? She was shocked to find that her body could not move. Even the huge power that was just obtained seems to be firmly locked in the body by some power at this time. Mu Bai waved his hand. Like throwing garbage, it pushed Mosquito Girl in Saitama's direction. Suddenly, an even stronger force pushed her towards the bald head in the distance. Gino's was still in a daze just now. Why did this powerful weirdo suddenly stop moving? And now, just saw this scene. No, be careful. Even if he had been dismembered into stumps, he did not forget to remind him. Seeing that special bald head is about to be cut under the knife. Next second. It's so annoying. Saitama suddenly slapped. The terrifying giant force and the speed that can't be seen clearly, slapped the Mosquito Girl's face with a slap. At this time, combat scene detected. Check in. The system prompt appears suddenly. Mu Bai showed a familiar smile. All the foreshadowing and waiting is for this moment. Sign in. Location. Battle scene. Signing in. Sign in is complete. Congratulations to the host. Sign in reward. Machine spirit talent. Snapped. A crackling sound came from the next wall. Blah Gino's, who was left with only a broken limb, fell to the ground, and his eyes just came to the wall next to him. His eyes widened. Because, just now, even the powerful Mosquito Girl was photographed into a pool of blood at this moment. Really, Gino's was stunned. Forgot to even turn off his self-destruct routine. Seeing that the blue beam in the chest is about to explode. It's over. The despair in Gino's eyes reappeared. Sudden. A trace of free scarlet color envelops it. The blue light beam that was about to burst was suddenly compressed back. Clack, the few remaining mechanical parts of Gino's were compressed and rattled. The self-exposure procedure is completely reversed. Only then did he notice the scarlet light that filled his chest. However, the self-destruction program completely stopped at this moment, and he was relieved. And seeing this scene, he suddenly thought of the mysterious hero that the news was crazy about these 2 days. Right now. A bald-headed voice suddenly sounded next to him. Oh. You are here too. He couldn't help but look up at the figure floating in the sky in the distance. Mu Bai's body was filled with crimson, and he slowly landed under the chaotic magic. Just arrived soon. Feel free to return. Because at this time, Mu Bai was suddenly in a bad mood. He flew over thousands of miles from another city in order to sign into the battlefield, but it took a long time to sign in for the talent of the machine god. To put it bluntly, it is all machinery. For this term, Mu Bai still has some understanding. Mechanic talents include the mechanical class, the initial mechanical principles and later mecha construction, as well as a series of control and manufacturing principles. This talent comes from a relatively famous novel in a previous life. But I just don't know how much this spiritual talent can be integrated. If it is integrated and the talent is relatively small, it will have no effect in this world at all. But if there are more talents of fusion, then in this world, it can stand at the top of this technology. But think about it, this sign-in should be more or less related to Genos. Take back your mind. Saitama and Miu-bai all looked at Genos, who was lying on the ground. At this moment, Genos' hair stood up. What is this horrible feeling? And just now, the fighting power that the bald head suddenly burst out was so terrifying. That feeling. Can't go wrong. The guy next to him, if you guessed correctly, is the magical hero who suddenly became popular in the past 2 days. However, it seems that the media did not exaggerate. Even the netizens have speculated that they are too weak. The mosquito girl who can imprison the outbreak in an instant is almost trivial to this guy. But Genos knew very well that Mosquito Girl's combat power had already surpassed him. Puff, the heartbeat accelerated slightly. Who is this guy? Saitama frowned slightly. The combat power is so weak. And the building is ruined, what is going on? It was this strange guy who appeared around his house and caused quite a stir. Even looking at the surrounding buildings, no matter what the environment is, it has been burned into a pile of coke by the flames that broke out just now. It was dark and almost ruined. Genos, Miu-bai spoke up. Yes. Genos agreed immediately. Saitama stretched out his finger and pointed at the robot on the ground. This guy's name is Genos. A good name is good, but why is his personality so bad? Touching his bald head, he still couldn't accept it. The streets were smoked like this. Oh, this is troublesome. Although no one lives there, I pass by here every day. If you do this, it will make me feel very uncomfortable. Yes. Sorry. I was wrong. Legend has it that Genos lowered his noble head. Although his head was really on the ground at this time. Miu-bai rolled his eyes. Genos has already been beaten like this, and I don't know what Saitama is thinking. Not even a weak human body is spared. Shaking his head slightly, Miu-bai no longer hesitated. Years ago was an opportunity to test our strength. Chaos magic in its heyday can directly modify reality, and it's also reflected in the movies. When her brother and loved ones left, the Scarlet Witch Wanda's spirit was damaged for a time. In the small town she lived in, she even used chaos magic to directly construct the reality in her mind. Not only was the vision directly recreated, but there was even magic that created 2 children. Miu-bai no longer hesitated. Extend your right hand and spread your fingers. Chaos magic suddenly erupted, and the scarlet color started from the fingertips and spread to the distance. I saw that the dark street that had been destroyed in front of me was all shrouded in this scarlet color at this time. As if threads of silk appeared out of thin air, touching the scarlet color. Construct. Recover. Miu-bai issued an order in his mouth. However, all the scarlet colors stood still. A terrifying shock instantly erupted along these scarlet colors. Under this impact, the surrounding wall skin fell off instantly. And all the surrounding buildings were also crushed in an instant. Genos. Why is the senior's ability to destroy stronger than him? And what is this for? Etc. Saitama was shocked and widened his eyes. It's over. He covered his head, and it seemed that there was still a little bit of it just now. Not even a single building was left at the moment, it looked empty. Cough cough. Coughing is also embarrassing. Miu-bai quickly waved his hand, missing mistakes. Extend your hands and wave them in the air. The same scarlet color as before began to cover the entire area. Miu-bai closed his eyes without hesitation. The rich and dangerous scarlet color instantly enveloped all the surrounding open areas, and began to build the most basic edges and corners of the house. And this time in Miu-bai's heart, it is clearly visible that the surrounding houses have not collapsed, but the scene before they were destroyed. Construct. A voice from the mind. At this moment, the chaos magic within the body begins to affect reality. I saw the building that had just been destroyed and turned into powder, and at this moment it was like stepping back in time. The first lines began to be constructed into edges and corners, red tiles and walls printed with various S. In the blink of an eye it was like going back in time. Within 5 seconds everything was back to normal. Before the energy cannon destroyed by Genos fell, every grass and tree on the street, including the potholes, was completely restored. Miu-bai opened his eyes. He knew that, yes, chaos magic would definitely do. Alas, it appears again, it appears again. A smile appeared on Saitama's dull face again. The same Genos was also shocked. F*K. This wave of actions by Miu-bai really surprised Genos. What kind of power is this? Why don't you come to my house and sit down? Saitama on the side broke the embarrassment. Whether it's the restoration of the street, or the explosion in place of the mosquito girl, he doesn't feel it at all. But, can you? Genos was a little cautious. Really scared by Saitama. Moreover, the mysterious hero in front of him should also be a ruthless person. I thought he was strong enough, but I didn't expect. In one day, he actually encountered two existences that could crush him. Mu Bai didn't care, nodding lightly. Seeing Mu Bai agree, Saitama turned his head and walked away, but after just 2 steps, he stopped and pointed at Genos. Then, what about this guy? Obviously, asking Mu Bai. Take it away together. Mu Bai waved his hand. A scarlet color floated out. Under the extreme control, Genos floated up and down, including a lot of parts that had been broken into pieces on the ground. 3 minutes later, the two came to Saitama's house. When I read the comics before, all the conjectures were overturned. The small house in front of me is too small. There is a TV set in the center of the living room, a laptop on the table on the left, and comics on the bookshelf in the north on the right. And some other furniture like sofas. Mu Bai took the opportunity to go to the toilet and turned on the system. The sign in reward just now has been issued, but I don't know how many mechanical principles this machine spirit talent can bring. After all, a ready-made Genos is not meant to be seen. Sign in reward. Machine spirit talent, is it fusion? Fusion. Mu Bai agrees. Next moment. The crimson color began to spread from Mu Bai's body, completely wrapping Mu Bai in it without affecting the surroundings. Then, a cold feeling came. Congratulations to the host, the fusion is complete. The fusion this time is only a short second, and there is no physical reinforcement. But Mu Bai felt that something very familiar appeared in his memory. Mu Bai was shocked. From the initial introduction of mechanical principles to the control of mechanical mechas, as well as the technical drawings of battleships. Pretty much everything. This represented the top-level mechanic talent in the publications of that world. And not only talent, but also a series of mechanical knowledge, including manipulation and application. This is not simply the mastery of mechanics, including mechanical transparency, which has used a lot of electrical and bionics. Just like the Iron Man armor made by Tony in the Marvel movies I have seen. The things used are quite rich, and the most well-informed is human bionics, which integrates machinery and human beings with humans. And take into account a series of human physical factors to improve. In the last world, scientists expected that such a product would not be made even within 200 years. After all, the shock absorption ability of the Iron Man armor is the best. A series of bionic principles are used. Secondly, the linkage between armors requires energy operation, as well as compression energy, which are heavily regulated items. And this time, as long as Mu Bai thinks, in this world, I can use the mechanic talent to infer and integrate the energy products possessed by this world. Under the powerful talent, the mechanical class can be played in the hands of Mu Bai. You must know that all technological products are produced through step-by-step deliberation, and at this time in Mu Bai's hands, Mu Bai can almost penetrate all the principles of deliberation. Don't hesitate to take back the chaos magic. Mu Bai's figure reappeared in the room, but compared to just now, his eyes were full of impatient waiting. It's like suddenly having the world's top computing power. The first thing to do must be to calculate some mathematical problems or calculate something to verify this top computing power. Why do you suddenly have a bad feeling? Genos, who was lying on the floor, suddenly got wind in the back of his head. Snapped. A trace of blood red has appeared in his brain. Next moment. Pop pop, but a snowflake appeared in his field of vision, and then Genos' field of vision went black. Mu Bai came over. Scarlet color is naturally chaos magic. Saitama is a little unclear, so what is Mu Bai doing? He went directly to Mu Bai and sat down beside him, waving his hand to cover the sky, and countless scarlet rays of light shrouded the scattered parts around him. After that, Genos was still floating in front of him. The broken clothes turned to ashes at this moment, revealing the pure mechanical body inside. Saitama knew very well that Mu Bai was manipulating Genos. But isn't it good to do so? Saitama just asked. Next moment. Ka as the scarlet color covered Genos' parts, the mechanical parts on Genos' body began to scatter, like precise parts being dismantled piece by piece on precise instruments. This bizarre scene appeared before his eyes, and immediately aroused Saitama's interest. Okay. At this time, Mu Bai looked over with a half smile. Nothing. Saitama waved his hand immediately. For someone whose life is full of blandness, this scene is simply fun. Mu Bai just continues. He picked up the teacup with his right hand and took a sip, while his left hand continued to control. Under the control of chaos magic, the parts of Gino's body fell off one after another, and the whole person seemed to be directly affected, with only the last head floating in the air. Fortunately, Gino's closed his eyes. Otherwise, you will definitely be shocked at this moment. Only one head is left. Mu Bai didn't stop. Chaos magic's powerful perception, stroking all parts, constantly testing the accuracy and speculating on the parts that can be inlaid. This is just the beginning. Finally, the genius of the machine. Mu Bai constantly calculates the strengths and weaknesses of the mechanical parents, including where Gino's needs to be improved. After some calculations, countless ideas appeared in the wooden board's mind, but the parts in front of him were too low. After hesitating for a while, Mu Bai chose to assemble it on the spot. Slamla, all the broken mechanical parts seemed to be melted under the scarlet color. Reconstructed and spliced together very well. Similar to building blocks, rebuild Gino's in front of him. Even as a preliminary grasp, Mu Bai is constantly inferring how the machines in front of him can be strengthened. Originally as a mechanical body, the birth of Gino's was full of mechanical intelligence. At this time, what Mu Bai has to do is to infer the original wisdom and improve it. This is naturally much more difficult than rebuilding. However, for a full-level machine god talent, it's pretty easy. Saitama on the side has opened his mouth. Looking at the machine in front of him in disbelief, he can still play like this. He took a part out of the air and watched the assembly in front of him stop again. He put it back again, came to Mu Bai's side, and sat quietly watching. After 5 minutes, stitching is complete. Mu Bai stretched out his hand. A tinge of crimson burst out, hitting Gino's head like an electric current. Papa. Sparks flickered, and Gino's opened his eyes immediately. He sat up suddenly. Huh. Huh. Breathing heavily, he was half asleep and half awake just now, as if his whole body had been dismembered. The feeling of hopelessness and powerlessness is simply too terrifying. Only at the mercy of others. And now, okay? Gino's suddenly looked at his hands. It was originally just a powerful version of the energy injector, including the energy reactor in the chest, and at this time, there was a trace of lines in the extension and flexion of the mechanical plate. Lines permeate the body, between all the mechanical gaps. And these lines are filled with blue energy, this is not the energy reactor in his chest, all the energy that erupts. What happened? Gino's frowned slightly, immediately turned over. I saw that all parts of the body seemed to have changed. The energy lines permeated the whole body. The breastplate was more than twice as thick as before, and the arm knives were added to both arms, including the energy eruption parts. And including the feeling of energy scheduling, it is countless times faster in an instant. Whoosh! The energy in his heart was immediately transmitted to the palm of his hand, and the crimson flames had a tendency to erupt faintly. Compared to the previous mobilization speed, jumping slightly, the giant force came from the leg, but the next moment he stood firmly on the ceiling, no damage was caused, and the coordination was greatly enhanced. And now the mechanical body seems to be more like an arm and a finger. What exactly happened? Gino's was a little confused. But then mobilized the memory file. In the beginning, when we came to this area, there was a battle. Fighting with a creature similar to a mosquito, and finally lost to being divided, but met a bald head that can slap such a terrifying thing to death. Also, someone with blood-red magic all over his body. The next moment, he immediately came back to his senses. Yes, he seems to have been brought back to the bald home by that mysterious man. Blah! The whole person did a backflip and landed steadily. And opposite. Saitama pierced his ears and looked at the monkey in front of him with a calm expression. As for Mu Bai, appreciate his work as if looking at a beautiful piece of art. Sure enough, it's still here. Excuse me. As soon as the voice came out, Gino's immediately thought of something, and he quickly changed his words. I'm really sorry to disturb the two of you. You don't know my change. Mu Bai did it. How about it, isn't it very powerful? Saitama held his head and replied weakly. 5 minutes to see the assembly of all parts. He was amazed. After all, this is a more exciting scene than the content of the comics. But I don't know why after Gino's recovered after the assembly, Saitama didn't have any good feelings. This guy has destroyed the surrounding city as well. No morals at all. Being stared at by Saitama, Gino's immediately broke into a cold sweat for some reason. Probably. This is the aura of the strong. However, looking at Mu Bai, Genos calmed down a bit. Thank you, senior, for helping me. If you hadn't, I'm afraid I'd be gone by now. Small thing. Mu Bai took a sip of tea and changed the conversation. However, your mechanical body is really weak. I have strengthened it just now, and upgraded it. Probably when you encounter a creature like before, you will have the power to fight. Watching Genos renovate and strengthen, his combat power has improved by more than 1 grade. Mu Bai couldn't help sighing in his heart. The talent of the machine is really grabbed. Including his mastery of mechanics has risen more than 1 level. Cough cough. Genos was a little embarrassed. You can only sit down quietly and drink tea obediently. After all, the 2 big men in front of him are not something he can provoke. Moreover, at the thought of the sudden burst of bald head. That kind of superhuman power is not what he is after. Drinking tea, a bold idea appeared in his mind. Mu Bai didn't pay attention to this, because he was engrossed in the mechanical fabrication just now. The innate talent of mechanic drives mechanical research, a powerful group. However, if you want to fully master the talent of the machine god, you will need more machines to accumulate experience in the future. For a long time, even the legendary space battleship may be manufactured. But, having said that, there will be space battleships in the near future. At that time, it is completely possible to study it and infer the mechanical knowledge again. Not only that, but also Tongdi's mecha. This is the product of fully contained wisdom. However, if that's the case, can the Drive Knight also study it? Including the Iron Knight. A time. Mu Bai found that there is really a lot to study in this world. But then again, Boros, when will you show up? Studying a space battleship, there will be a god-level disaster in the future, and an aerospace railgun will not be powerful. Suddenly, right now, we are underground people, you have been surrounded. Suddenly a sound came from outside the window. Suddenly, Genos' face tightened. Snapped. Immediately take a fighting stance. A creature is approaching rapidly. Saitama was slightly taken aback. Chilled? However, Mu Bai slowly stood up and walked towards the window. Outside the window were 2 giant weasels standing with big dragon characters written on their clothes. Although the combat power is a scumbag, it seems to be quite arrogant. For what? Seeing Mu Bai's serious face, Saitama knew it. Why is there another weirdo? Which means he's going to fight again. Home of evolution, Mu Bai said casually. Then I saw that the scarlet color spread all over the body, and the Mu Bai style window jumped up, like a leaf floating, slowly falling. Aside. Boom, in a huge roar. The evolved Genos has cracked ground beneath his feet. He was slightly taken aback. Only then did he realize that not only his physique had been strengthened, but his weight had also been enhanced. However, Genos was very clear. This represents more powerful combat power and greater mobility. The doctor also said that the only way to enhance combat effectiveness is to strengthen parts, or to carry out stronger and more specific parts modification. Unexpectedly, in the hands of Mu Bai, just using parts casually can strengthen it to such a state. It seems. The strength of the senior is definitely above the doctor. Thinking of this, Genos couldn't help but glanced at Mu Bai secretly. Mu Bai didn't care that much. Genos is in his hand with the mechanic talent he just got, but it's just a toy. In the future, his toy will be a space battleship, but now it's just a practice deduction. Sudden. Boom. A huge roar. Suddenly, smoke billows from the window of Saitama's house. But the next moment, slap, an invisible creature was thrown on the opposite wall and turned into a pool of green liquid. Genos was slightly taken aback. It seems that the memory is not wrong. Slamla Saitama in the red cape suddenly appeared beside Genos. The wind howls. The speed was so fast that Genos' pupils could not help shrinking. It made him think. It seems that the idea should indeed be implemented. Don't you know how to come in from the front door and stay with us on the ceiling? Saitama threw his arms in a displeased look. It doesn't matter if you encounter monsters and fight. But breaking the ceiling is no good. It has to be redecorated, it has to cost a fortune. However, let Mu Bai use magic. This stuff saves time and effort. Apparently Mu Bai didn't know it yet, he was on Saitama's mind. If the land of the Scarlet Witch, chaos magic is used to repair the ceiling, I don't know if it will explode. But for now, Mu Bai finally saw the so-called underground people. Just a few mutated giant cockroaches. Think back to when I read the manga, Saitama punched a cockroach monster. It also comes with popping pulp, which is disgusting. However, shouldn't the cockroach monster appear long ago? Why did it arrive at this time? And, several technological products from the House of Evolution also appeared at the same time. Could this be the legendary butterfly effect? Because his appearance caused a certain change. And seeing the appearance of humans, several cockroach monsters on the opposite side immediately spit out human words. We are underground. Boom! The blue flame erupted suddenly, and the strong temperature even melted the billboard into molten iron. It's a pity that a few cockroaches were fried and crispy before they even finished speaking. Energy jumped between Gino's palms. The energy mobilization speed is now 10 times faster, he can react in the blink of an eye, and he has more ways to fight. Obviously, neither the seniors nor the teachers have time to listen to nonsense. Yes, in the subconscious, Gino's has already thought about apprenticeship. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but secretly glanced at Saitama. Pop 2 punches. The snail monster and the toad monster who had been peeking at the window were blasted into the ground. All fours turned upside down, obviously burping. Yo. It's so weak. Saitama frowned slightly in disgust, and the ground suddenly trembled. Wow! A pair of sharp hooves grabbed Saitama's feet. Before Gino's could react, the Saitama in front of him had been dragged into the ground, leaving only a light-hearted head on the surface. Looking at it from Mubai's point of view, well, it shines brightly. It has to be said that baldness is also beneficial. Of course, Saitama didn't like it. We are transformed people from the House of Evolution, and now we want to invite this person, go back together. A heavy voice came from behind. Boom, boom. A figure like a hill walked slowly from the corner of the street, revealing its original appearance in a cloud of smoke. Mysterious man in steel armor. A pair of blue pupils stared at Saitama in front of him. Ah no, staring at Saitama's bald head. The eyes are very predatory, but Mubai is too lazy to listen to nonsense. Right hand waving. Whoosh whoosh, countless scarlet colors suddenly enveloped the steel armor in front of him. The next moment, open your fingers, slamla. The mysterious steel armor suddenly burst, and countless fragments floated in the air, revealing the mysterious man's body. It turned out to be a black Tekken gorilla. At this time, the gorilla was very embarrassed. Somewhere was blown by the breeze and could not help but tighten. 3 eyes looked at him at the same time. Without the protection of the steel armor, he suddenly felt a sense of being seen through. Moreover, especially the one who cut his armor to pieces with a wave of his hand, his eyes were terrifying. With a sudden wave of his hand, his armor disintegrated directly. What is this ability? The attack information is not written. But it seems that the mission target is just this bald head on the ground. No, I can't handle that much anymore. The gorilla knew that the task was important, and when he reached out his big hand, he was about to grab the bald head on the ground. About to uproot Saitama. However, before the bald head was caught, a fist suddenly appeared in front of him, and it continued to enlarge in his eyes. Snapped. It exploded into pieces of steel. Punch down. The chimpanzee under the steel armor exploded into a sky full of parts in an instant. Where does the chimpanzee look like before? What is this? Saitama was slightly taken aback. Why is there such a thing? Isn't this another Gino's? Gino's. Look at me. Although I thought so in my heart, I couldn't argue with the future master. Mubai did not refuse anyone who came to him. He was naturally sensitive to all machines, and his step-by-step mastery of machines required calculation. Even if the mechanic has mastered all the mechanical principles, it still needs to be done step by step. With a big wave of his hand, under the chaotic magic, countless scarlet colors erupted, wrapping all the machinery in front of him, and suddenly disappeared. And at the same time, inside the Mubai Manga Club store, a black void appeared at the end with a large pile of parts, which fell from the void and piled up in the corners like garbage. Gino's and Saitama, who were at the scene, were directly stunned. Look at each other. Saitama. It's supposed to be magic, that's right. Gino's. Actually, I think so too. Very good, you seem to be a good guy too. Saitama then nodded. Gino's immediately smiled. Thank you for the compliment, master. Looking at two people only needs facial expressions to have a psychological conversation. Mubai was speechless. However, it seems that the enemy of the peers came in a hurry. The huge state of the lion's head, the muscles on the body are extremely strong, obviously not good. I saw the 3 Mubai in front of me. He was a little stunned at first. However, then he was stunned. Where is King Kong? He looked around and saw no sign. He immediately shouted. Forget it. It's the same for me. I'm the Beastmaster who made a special trip to take you back. All the idlers and other people should get out of the way. Don't blame me for not helping, have mercy. Mu Bai understood. This should be the funny ratio commonly known as the monkey invited. However, don't get in the way. Wow, the blue beam spurted out from behind the mechanical body. Genos took a stride, and rushed towards the Beastmaster without hesitation. The swift speed seemed to appear suddenly. The Beastmaster, who had just uttered nonsense, suddenly felt coercion. He frowned slightly. There are really people who are not afraid of death. Base. He opened his fingers and stretched out sharp claws, and he immediately looked up to the sky and smiled. Roar. A lion-like roar came out of his mouth. Immediately rush in. After the armor upgrade, Genos was at full power for the first time. The doctor said that the previous armor could not exert the real energy of the reactor at all. This time, Genos really wants to test how strong this upgraded armor is. Wow. A sliding shovel dodged a frontal impact. Base. The sharp arm blade popped out and slashed at the Lion Man. However, the next second, clang clang, the fur on the Lion Man actually made a sound of steel symphony. Damn it. Genos gritted his teeth slightly. Unexpectedly, it looks like the fur of an ordinary weirdo, and its hardness is comparable to steel. Stepping on the wall with one foot, the figure that flew forward stagnated. Genos stomped abruptly, clenched his fists and attacked the back of the Beastmaster. The Beastmaster responded quickly. Base. A claw slashed the air in an instant, and Genos leaned back, easily dodging. Rumbling. 5 waves of air overturned the bungalow next to it, and the smoke and dust were scattered. Countless dust was raised, instantly making the scene blurred, and King Shou, who failed to succeed, immediately launched an attack. Under the power of terror, the speed is not slow. In the smoke. Genos' eyes scanned, and the largest individual in the smoke appeared on the visual interface. In the next second, he will no longer keep it. Gaba, clenching his fist slightly, he stretched out his arms. Ice blue energy spreads all over the body, and in just the blink of an eye, the energy mobilization has reached 100%, and the jet charging is completed in the palm of the hand. Genos jumped high immediately. The blue beam penetrated the dust and concentrated the power of annihilation. Whoosh. The blue silk thread easily cut through the reinforced concrete, and the 2 silk threads were continuously cut in the smoke and dust, and Genos himself was spinning in place. Next second. Rumbling, more serious collapses, starting from all around. The wall full of graffiti suddenly collapsed, including the foundation and all the surrounding buildings, which have been broken layer by layer under the cutting of the blue silk thread. Sharp cutting edge, extremely smooth. Originally, the surrounding buildings were dilapidated and even in disrepair. Under such a terrifying impact, the move button collapsed and fell to the ground. Bigger soot appears. Mu Bai frowned slightly. A trace of scarlet color filled the whole body, forming a layer of airtight walls. It seems that under the talent of the machine god, all the deductions are no problem. Moreover, the strength of Genos in front of him has been infinitely close to that of the driving knight. What he lacks is only combat experience and stronger core energy. While repairing Genos, Mu Bai discovered that the reactor had limited energy mobilization. If the principle of mechanical armor is developed, then the plank has 100% information that can make Genos' armor upgrade again, and raise a level. However, currently, never mind. To say that there is someone who can upgrade Genos' armor at present, that person is only Tong Di. Genos became more and more brave, and Saitama, who was beside him, yawned. Apparently, for these mostly bells and whistles, there is no interest at all in combat. Mu Bai also has no time to waste. The ghost knows what the current subscription of Ghostslayer Blade is like. A big wave. Chaos magic erupted suddenly. The fighting Beastmaster only felt his whole body tighten, as if there was a terrifying gaze. This kind of intuition that only animals have, can't be wrong. Sure enough, the next moment, countless scarlet colors, wrap it up. The Beastmaster finds that he can no longer move. And Zhou Shen's huge smoke also slowly ended under this scarlet color. In the smoke and dust, he ignored it just now, and the 2 human characters walked step by step. One of the palms seems to be controlling the free energy of these scarlet colors. You. What are you doing? The Beastmaster panicked. Genos also saw Mu Bai's shot, and immediately stopped attacking. Where is the House of Evolution? Mu Bai asked sharply. I won't tell you. As the king of beasts, I would rather die than give in. Lionhead's tone was firm and full of strength.
Yes. The corners of Mu Bai's mouth raised slightly, and the scarlet light in his pupils gradually became stronger.
The same moment. W City, the underground world, the home of evolution. The giant screen shows an accidental photo of Saitama, dressed in a yellow hero costume, with Genos beside him. And Saitama. Exactly what drop, on the screen in front of me, the red exclamation mark suddenly and kept beating. Subsequently. Clap on the avatars of several evolution monsters, new red words appeared immediately. Losing contact. This time the same occurs, with only one result to explain. That is, chimpanzees and beastmasters, including mosquitoes and a few weasels. All hung up. How could it be? All of them were wiped out. The young doctor gritted his teeth. He clenched his fists, very unwilling in his heart. After all, this represents the House of Evolution, a lot of combat power so far. The bald head was unable to take down the bald head after sending so much combat power at one time. The strength of the bald head was simply beyond imagination. No. I must catch him, I have to study him well. The young doctor looked almost insane. At this moment, he was even more convinced that the bald head was the key to unlocking human evolution. And that's exactly what Evolution House has been looking for. How about we go beg him? The identical scientist beside him suddenly made a sound, but his voice was a little hesitant. As soon as these words were said, all the clones around them were silent. One by one, their faces were shocked, and hearing it from the doctor's mouth.
The doctor in front of the console also changed slightly.
As of now, all the fighting forces have been excavated, and this is the only hope left, Dr. Clones insisted. But, the doctor in front of the console frowned slightly. We have no control over this failed experiment, and even once released, it may cause a devastating blow to the House of Evolution. When the crowd was silent, Dr. Clone stood up resolutely. I go. As long as you can catch the bald head and study the secrets of human evolution, small sacrifices are inevitable. And even if one me dies, there are still thousands of me. The positions of all the clones around are moved. And the man in front of the console could only nod lightly at this moment. But when he thought of the failed experiment, a giant beetle monster appeared in his mind. The ultimate powerful monster named Ashura Unicorn. Outside world. The whole body was filled with scarlet color, and Mu Bai also used the body speed completely. Every time he jumped, the figure suddenly appeared several kilometers away. Even if there was only a trace of the power of the god of destruction, his current physique had been strengthened to a certain extent. And the speed was so fast that Saitama and Genos, who were in normal state, were directly lost. However, Mu Bai did not stop. This is the first time to use such a powerful power. After all, the power of intentional destruction is enough to cause large-scale damage to all. In this world, Mu Bai did not come to destroy. And now, even if it's a serious punch from Saitama, Mu Bai can take it all. However, Saitama's serious punch is already equivalent to Mu Bai's full force. Gaba. Make a fist. Mu Bai knew very well that if he wanted to fight the great Demon King, he needed to become stronger. Next moment. Mu Bai slowly landed, and a huge honeycomb-shaped block building appeared in front of him. Right here, on the ground in front of you, the House of Evolution and the impression are completely integrated. Mu Bai didn't stop, the scarlet color filled his body, and he walked into the building in front of him.
Empty buildings on the ground, if only to hide people's eyes and ears, are the real houses of evolution, even if they are hidden underground.
Therefore, Mu Bai was too lazy to survey the ground, and he came directly to the entrance of the House of Evolution under the perception of powerful chaotic magic. Crunch. Uncovering the entrance of the passage on the ground, Mu Bai walked down the steps into the dark place. Even though the surroundings were extremely dark, it had no effect on Mu Bai, who was covered in blood red. The corridor in front of him was very long, and the moment the scarlet light flickered, Mu Bai had come to the end of the corridor. Similar to the door of a ward in a hospital, there are countless sturdy jars inside, and some human bodies are soaking in the jars. A long tube is attached to the human body, which seems to be injecting something unknown. The screen next to it shows the life value of the human body in the special research plan. Obviously this is the research room, but there was no one in the research room. This is an evolutionary study of failed products. The project has long been shelved, but waiting for the right time, these bodies may come in handy. An excited voice came from behind. You can hear the people behind them seem very excited when it comes to research. Mu Bai found him long ago. Under the powerful perception, Mu Bai can easily perceive even a radius of 1 kilometer. However, this person's physical reaction is completely an ordinary person. Without strengthening, it can only be counted as a large number. There are 2 guys with guns. Exactly the same hidden in the corner. Mu Bai withdrew from the research room and looked at the doctor. Home of evolution, give me all the mechanical data. I can let you live. For evolution files, Mu Bai is not interested. The biological research course should be left to biological research experts. He is only interested in mechanics. Mu Bai looked indifferent. A wave of hands. Clap clap. The existence of eavesdropping in the far corner, before he could scream, immediately burst into a pile of blood. This terrifying scene directly stunned the doctor in front of Mu Bai. Whether it is a clone or an ontology, the doctor in front of him still belongs to the category of human beings. Good. He just felt his scalp go numb. I had to lead the way in front. After all, the guy behind him could destroy a few clones if he didn't agree, which also meant that more clones could be destroyed in an instant. No matter how many clones there are in the base, without a strong combat power, the guy in front of him can only jerk. The moment he crossed the corner, a sinister smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Because, in the sound of footsteps, he was leading Mu Bai towards the most dangerous and darkest room in the evolution house. And the purpose of his trip was to release the failed test product. Although it is the most failed experiment in the history of the evolution house, it can also be called the most powerful geek research. The House of Evolution, the original purpose was to study the evolution of human beings. But obviously humans can't accept this kind of thing, so I have been excluded from dissidence and even rejected all my research. Dr. Clone said in a different way. Then what? Mu Bai's eyes narrowed slightly. What is the doctor in front of you thinking? Of course he knew. But just to delay the time and take him to the house where the life response is extremely strong. If you guessed correctly, there should be no mechanical knowledge at all, there should be a very powerful eccentric. However, Mu Bai didn't care. The last check-in has already proven where to check in, or even at a certain moment, and will not affect the check-in reward. It's like the moment Mu Bai danced to the Saitama fight, but the sign-in reward was Gino's related mech talent. This time there is no need to wait any longer, even if the doctor in front of him doesn't take him there. Mu Bai will also find here and sign in. The doctor was slightly startled, but immediately said. But they didn't expect me to set up the evolution house and successfully study the secrets of evolution here. From the initial contact with clones to making up for the shortcomings of human beings, absorbing the strengths of various animals, and researching powerful monsters. My research has finally opened the way for human evolution. He pushed his eyes slightly. Saying these words made his heart surge, and the next moment. Crunch. He pushed open the door, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Arrive. The information you want is in there, go get it. After finishing speaking, he put on his right hand and looked straight at Mu Bai. The smile on the corner of his mouth had a hint of provocation. Mu Bai shook his head lightly indifferently. Snapped, with a wave of his hand. Dr. Clone was directly decomposed into molecules. From the monitoring point of view, Dr. Clone seemed to disappear suddenly. Monitoring the clones behind, the complexion changed slightly. Because, Mu Bai didn't care and shrugged at the surveillance camera. Then, he walked into the room. Quick! Rotate the monitor. This guy doesn't look simple at all. Maybe it's a research body more suitable than a bald head. The doctor in front of the command room is still not giving up. Other clones nod immediately. One by one controls the keyboard of the glasses to adjust the monitoring. Snapped. The last enter key fell into the room where the Apollo unicorn was imprisoned, and the monitoring was turned on. At the same time, the moment Mu Bai came in, the lights in the room also suddenly turned on. It seems to feel the breath of strangers. Well. The deep darkness made a nasal sound. It's been a long, long time since no one has appeared here. Ha ha ha. Creatures hidden in the dark sneered. And the next moment, he moved. Clack, the sound of the chains came from the creature's every move. Even though it was dark in the distance, it was in Mu Bai's eyes. In the darkness, a giant monster slowly stood up, his arms and even his legs and ankles were all tied with thick chains. The solid iron restricts the every move of this giant monster. Clack, the chain rattled again. At this moment, with a snap, the light above the giant monster's head also turned on. The figure of the giant monster completely appeared in the field of vision. Countless smashed white research suits appeared on the ground, and the blood had solidified everywhere. A few scattered corpses could not be seen, and the bones were all gnawed. Mu Bai frowned slightly. These bones that had been eaten by Ling Kai should all be clones of the doctor. Suck. Holding the weirdo slowly opened his mouth and snorted out a mouthful of breath. At this moment, the monitor above his head suddenly made a squeaking sound. The signal is on. Asura Unicorn. The doctor's voice immediately came from the monitoring. This human being in front of you is one of the targets I want to study. Okay. The giant weirdo asked back, so, what's up with me? He dragged the chain and made another screeching noise. Did you see that I am the most successful work of the House of Evolution, but you kept me underground? Why should I help you? The Asura Unicorn almost understood the meaning of the doctor in seconds. After all, the man who was crazy about this team's research was also the person he had been in contact with the most. In front of the monitor screen, Doctor speechless. You are clearly the most failed experiment. This sentence immediately shouted from my heart. Although this powerful monster he has researched has an incomparably powerful combat power, his spirit seems to have been stimulated and become uncontrollable. That's one of the reasons it's closed. Sudden. The Asura Unicorn grabbed the iron chain that locked him. Click with a little force, the chain shattered. Forget it. Anyway, you are just a group of people from the old era, trying to trap me in vain. I am the finished product of the new human being that you have dreamed of. Both intellectually and physically, I am far superior to your old age, so you should listen to me. When I kill this guy, I will inform you. Click. Click. The chains were all broken under tremendous force. Mu Bai still looked calm. The sign-in prompt has not yet appeared. It is obvious that the doctor in front of him and the Asura Unicorn are engaged in a betrayal battle. However, having said that, Asura's Unicorn's combat power, even the Mosquito Girl in its heyday can't fight against the enemy. I am afraid it is possible to be defeated in seconds. Evolution is also obviously underestimated, its combat effectiveness. I tried to tie it with chains, but I never thought that after eating a few cloned human beings, the fighting power also recovered a lot. Before the monitoring screen, the doctor's expression changed drastically. No, he got out of trouble. I saw that the Asura Unicorn in the picture walked towards Mu Bai on the opposite side step by step. But Mu Bai didn't seem to react yet, and continued to watch the play. It's over. The doctor sighed. This ideal experiment in my heart is gone. In a huge cell. Boom, boom. Every time the Asura Unicorn took a step, the ground shook. With a huge physique, the power that bursts out with every step is also very terrifying, leaving a lot of footprints behind on the ground. In the surveillance screen, the doctor couldn't bear to look directly. Asura Unicorns are not only difficult to control, but also completely lose their moral bottom line. No matter how strong Mu Bai is, he will only end up being dismembered. Slightly clenched fist. Mu Bai is definitely a good research material, and it is a pity to lose it like this. However, the behavior of the Asura Unicorn surprised him. I saw the Asura Unicorn stopped in front of Mu Bai. It was the first time he had seen such a peaceful existence after seeing so many fearful humans. Oh? You're not afraid of me? The Asura Unicorn lowered its head. With a high-end body and a pair of eyes, they immediately looked down at Mu Bai from a height. However, he saw the human in front of him stretched out his right hand, and a mass of scarlet energy filled his hand. The Asura Unicorn was slightly taken aback. What is this for? Next moment. The powerful animals sensed the next terrifying coercion, which came suddenly. Asura Unicorns are directly fried. However, I'm afraid it's too late to escape. And at this moment, no matter how much he resisted, his whole body was bound by this scarlet color and couldn't move at all. This is the first time the Asura Polygon has felt this terrifying pressure. And these difficult scarlet silk threads seem to be the most powerful ability of this man. What? The doctor's eyes widened. What happened in the surveillance was unbelievable. The most powerful experiment to date, both in terms of speed and strength, have become unfathomable. But after just one face-to-face, he was caught by the human in front of him. No matter how unsuccessful, it is still his best work. Turns out, it's not the enemy of humanity in front of me. Shocked. I heard it. You should have the largest fighting room here, open the passage. Mu Bai said coldly. After all, there is advanced knowledge about the mechanics department. I don't want it to be damaged. Mechanic talent can maximize Mu Bai's perception of machinery, forged on a path similar to that of the master. Moreover, in the future battle with Orochi, the appearance of the machine god G4 marks a deeper level of mechanical organization. Once dealing with such an organization, the only feasible way is to directly hack the machinery. Otherwise, the machines like puppets are endless. Well, some play. At present, the mechanical best knowledge of the evolutionary family is absorbed enough to enhance the mechanical system. While speaking, Mubai's pupils flashed a hint of scarlet color. Good. The doctor who was just shocked in front of the screen seemed to have become a puppet at this time, and his pupils were dilated. Mechanically opened the fighting room Mubai requested. In the original episode, Asura Unicorn took the initiative to lead Saitama to this huge fighting room. No matter how proud he was, he knew the meaning of the evolutionary house. But now he was slammed to the ground by an invisible force, dragging him forward. What a terrifying power this is. Honestly, right now. Asura Unicorn is a little suspicious of life. I originally thought that this was just a small human being, but I didn't expect to have such a strange ability. But, who would have thought that not knowing the strength of the opponent is not a weakness? The Asura Unicorn, who was dragged to the ground, flashed a ruthless sign in her eyes. Come to the fighting room. All the lights were turned on immediately, and the fighting room mentioned seemed to be square and incomparably tall, almost as high as a 10-story building. And the walls are so deep that even if they cause massive damage there, it won't affect the surrounding buildings. After all, the Evolution House is, in the final analysis, just a scientific research institution. The doctor has mastered the cloning technology and has researched countless himself, but they are just ordinary people, and they can only be completely scrapped in the event of danger. So, he had to work to get it here. Now it comes in handy. This is the largest fighting room, and it has always been here to test the strength of experimental items. The doctor's voice came from the surveillance. His voice was calm and unwavering, and he was bewitched by chaos magic and wanted to break free for a while, which was impossible. And the ability to bewitch the mind like this is a piece of cake in Mubai's hands. Come to the place. Mubai waved his hand. Snapped. Asura Unicorn was a huge monster, like a rag, and was randomly thrown on the far wall by chaos magic. Bang. The huge force smashed the wall in an instant, smashing the huge head of the Asura Unicorn into the wall deeply. However, it also gives him freedom. Feeling the blocked breathing, it immediately became smooth, and Ashura's unicorn eyes rolled. The moment he pulled him out of the wall, full speed was already activated. Gaba, clenching his huge fist, the entire giant figure rushed towards Mubai like a cannonball. He has to sneak attack. Understand, the biggest reliance of the human being on the opposite side is the scarlet light, then. He will understand. Under the bright light, the figure of the Asura Unicorn is like a unicorn, and it has exceeded the speed of light almost in the blink of an eye. Just kill that human before that bright red light imprisoned him. After all, no geek's power is perfect in the materials of doctoral studies. Including the strengths of all heroes, naturally have their weaknesses. And at this moment, he predicted that Mubai's weakness must be his body. However, when he rushed towards Mubai at this moment, he suddenly found that there was no panic on Mubai's face. But the arrow was on the string and had to be sent. Sensing sudden hostility. Ding. Detected Ashura Unicorn. Check in. The system beep suddenly appeared. Mubai nodded immediately. Sign in. Isn't that what you've been waiting for? Signing in. Sign in is complete. Sign in reward. The power of 1,000 giant elephants. The sign in was completed, and the Asura Unicorn had already rushed to the front. The huge fist is enlarged in Mubai's eyes. Victory is in sight. The corners of Asura's Unicorn's mouth evoked a smile. Success. Next moment. Snapped, the small hand instantly blocked in front of his fist. In an instant, Asura Unicorn's pupils shrank. Not because the hand was blocking him, but because of. He tried his best, but at this time it was difficult to shake in front of this small hand. How can this be? Asura Unicorn was shocked. Is this still human? You must know that once tested, his ordinary punch is equivalent to a missile explosion. The terrifying bombardment can even make ripples in the air. But, now, a human gently stretched out his right hand to block his full blast. You know, this is the full force. This terrifying feeling spread throughout his body, causing him to react instantly. Brush, faster speed, the next second came to the corner. Asura Unicorn is a little suspicious of life. Whether he is a weirdo or the person in front of him is a weirdo. The explosion with all his strength just now completely refreshed his 3 views. And at the same time, except for the doctor controlled by Mubai, there were still other clones, and the doctor stared at the monitor in front of him. The fighting room of the superfighters at this time. He He actually wants to fight one-on-one with the Asura unicorn. But that doesn't seem like a win at all. This human being is too big, and the Asura unicorn is the most evolved monster of our secret weapon. A group of clone doctors are talking about each other. Just then, the old doctor came out. Dang dang. The crutches tap the ground lightly. Shut up. Some hoarse voices are not as loud as those arguing. But all the clone doctors shut up at the same time. Because the old doctor in front of him is the body of everyone, and after 100 years of research, the evolutionary house in front of him was completely established. He has also become the most mysterious and powerful person. Here comes. Many clone doctors secretly looked at each other. But I only heard the old doctor coldly say, "This human being. It is definitely the key to our plan to open the human body." There was a wise light in his eyes. All the clone doctors looked closely at the monitoring in front of them. At the same time, fighting room. Okay. Mu Bai frowned slightly. What happened? Before I hit it, I closed myself and squatted in the corner. Are you still playing like this? However, this guy in front of him is enough for him to use the power of the god of destruction. Now that the sign-in is complete, it's not bad to play with this guy. Fingers crossed. Pre-war movement. Turn your head slightly. Gaba. Gaba. The sound of the bones came out, crackling, like thunder. If that's the case, it's not bad to have fun. Mu Bai took off his jacket, wrapped in scarlet light, and floated in the air. The white shirt was revealed. At this moment, Mu Bai actually understands the so-called hero, and the costume is not for being cool. The settings similar to sportswear and stronger wear resistance are all for letting go of hands and feet when fighting and showing the strongest state. But, having said that, the hero costume is really enough for the second year. Rolling up his sleeves slightly, the pre-war campaign is over. The knees are slightly bent, and the feet jump slightly. Boom. A trace of strength actually caused the solid ground to crack in an instant. Click click, the crack spread, 5 meters away. Flat ground is like a broken mirror, and Mu Bai also disappeared in place. Wow. Feeling the gaze cast by the other party, the Asura unicorn, all the hairs on his body stood up. And a sense of danger is coming from this guy in front of him. But he also knew very well that there was no way to avoid it at this time. The vigilance of the creature told him that the guy in front of him was extremely terrifying, but it has come to this point that it cannot be backed down. Not to mention, Mu Bai appeared again, already in front of his eyes. The small fist kept expanding in his eyes. The opponent punched, with a terrifying speed. The Asura unicorn could only stand it, raising his arm to resist. Next moment, a terrifying intensity suddenly followed the opponent's fist and rushed towards his whole body. Huge strength, and then his physique can't be optimistic. Just in the blink of an eye. Crack, the bones wrapped in the flesh were instantly broken. The piercing pain was transmitted through his nerves into his brain. What? The Asura unicorn couldn't help roaring. 2 large eyeballs were bloodshot all over. Just one blow had completely destroyed his mental defense. Okay. Mu Bai was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect that a random punch could break the bones of the creature in front of him. The thick flesh burst open. It exploded at the place where Asura unicorn's arm was punched, and it cracked into a deep hole. Exposing the broken bones inside. It will die, it will die. He shook his head frantically. The 2 eyeballs also kept widening. Mu Bai also noticed the abnormality and jumped up slightly. It seemed to flash suddenly, and the figure had arrived, 20 meters away. The Asura unicorn, who had been squatting in the corner, seemed to be greatly stimulated, and even squatted in the corner, she shook her head crazily. The hard body caused huge damage to the walls on both sides. Among the numerous cracks, the gravel debris fell. There was a lot of smoke and dust on the ground. Sudden. Laugh. Laugh. The Asura unicorn was spewing gas from her nose. The figure squatting in the corner also slowly stood up. Coming out of the smoke and dust, the image has changed drastically. From a figure sitting on the ground, it evolved to walking upright. Fluttering. Cicada wings similar to insects appeared behind him, and the faster he flapped his wings, the faster his speed increased. The bloodshot eyeballs were obviously filled with abnormal writing. Moreover, the growth of the main body has also increased to a certain extent. The blood hole on the arm that was punched out by Mu Bai's punch, countless granulation buds intertwined, and it returned to its original state in the blink of an eye. He. The mouth kept drooling. The guy who was already insane was so frightened that he lost control by the terrifying blow just now. And at this moment, Mu Bai is truly real, seeing the so-called eccentric people in this world who are devoured by evil. The human identity has long been lost, and in the end, it can only be annihilated in the dark abyss. Next second. Boom, Asura Unicorn, the first to break out, actually rushed towards Mubai. Good come. Mubai didn't stop there either. The right hand clenched a fist, the whole person showed extreme speed, and the posture rushed out. The figures of the two people in the air collided with each other. Boom. Under a huge collision, the two terrifying forces were instantly separated from each other. Boo. There were countless ripples in the surrounding air. Click click, the ground couldn't bear the terrifying energy. Like a calm mirror, it was crushed into pieces, cracking to the surrounding like an earthquake. Boom. Suddenly, a 5-meter-long circular pit formed on the ground. Feeling the strength of the Asura Unicorn, Mubai couldn't help but startled slightly. Completely accepting the Weirda's words, and even evolving again, the strength of the Asura Unicorn is now enough to completely crush all the weirdos he has encountered so far. However, so what? Opposite. Click, even after evolving, the arm of the Asura Unicorn shattered again. This time, the collision site completely burst all the way to the base of the arm. Countless bloodstains were scattered on the ground. It seemed like a rain of blood had fallen from the top of the 5-meter-deep pit. Boom. The huge monster body slammed into the wall, and a deafening sound broke out. And the body of the Asura Unicorn was also deeply embedded in the wall. However, the Asura Unicorn has really lost his mind. Slamla, where the arm burst, countless granulations sprouted and intertwined. Muscles twitched and looked sick. The intertwined parts immediately grew white bones. The old doctor behind the monitor pushed his eyes. Terrorist recovery ability. This is the growth ability that took a long time to fully research after studying the growth ability of lizards. With this ability, as long as it is not destroyed in an instant, it can continue to fight. However, the pain still exists. It is precisely because of this experiment that there is a certain problem with the spirit of the Asura Unicorn. It could also be that the process of going through the weirdo is just too painful. But anyway, this is one of his successful experiments. Great. As expected of me, I am the strongest. Only our wisdom is the deepest trump card of the House of Evolution. The surrounding doctors, one by one, immediately raised their chests. Battle scene. I also felt the shock of the Asura Unicorn, the powerful force. Mubai didn't take it hard. With the strength of the anti-shock, Mubai's figure fled backwards. With the help of the speed of the target, Mubai stepped on the wall in the blink of an eye. Under the power of Mubai's god of destruction, the wall couldn't hold back at all, and the crack formed and exploded at the same time. No matter how deep and hard the wall is, it can only burst alive under Mubai's feet. And that's enough. Without hesitation, Mubai's figure rushed forward again. The Asura Unicorn on the opposite side, the broken arm has also grown. Looking at the arm where the voice came out, Mubai's mouth twitched into a smile. This guy is a natural sandbag. In the past, because the god of destruction was too powerful, there was no chance to use it, but now this battle, just punching, is enough to make Mubai feel hardy. Delight in my heart. The opposite has lost his mind, and the Asura Unicorn, who has only fighting instinct, also attacked at this hostility in an instant. Once again, the two punched fists collided in the air. However, this time, Mubai's figure stagnated. After the punch, Mubai, who was not injured, spun in the air, and with his powerful speed, he kicked out in an instant. Boom. The arm was exercised again, and the unicorn was completed for growth, which was kicked into the air by Mubai. And the moment Mubai landed, he jumped up without hesitation. Gaba. The ground was like finely shredded tofu, and it couldn't stand Mubai's mighty force at all. Even this fighting room was originally established to test the strength of all the experimental items. It can't stand the power of Mubai's destruction god at all. After monitoring, the doctor was slightly surprised. What a terrifying destructive power. Heartbeat can't help speeding up. Isn't that exactly what he's researching? Human evolution, physicality and speed have reached the ultimate pleasure. And Mubai in front of him, breathing, moving and still. The damage to the surrounding area is simply terrifying. There is simply no building that can withstand such destruction. And this time, the Asura Unicorn, who had just been hit high in the sky, could not react even with extremely sensitive nerves. Mubai has already come to the sky above the Asura Unicorn. The speed was so fast that all the clone doctors were surprised. Is this really human? How is it possible? Even the Asura unicorn cannot explode to this extent. My god, it's horrible. Even watching him fight, I can feel suffocated. But this is not the direction of our research. Yes, I really want to dissect him. See if his internal organs are too strong for bullets to reach. Although they were terrified by the power of Mu Bai, these terrifying scientists immediately burst out with great courage. In battle, Mu Bai frowned slightly. The entire base of the evolution house is under his feeling, and I have to admire that these scientists are really crazy. However, speaking of it, scientists all over the world should be so crazy. The fighting has not stopped. Mu Bai punched Ashura unicorn in the face. Half of his face shattered instantly, and the bursting blood flew towards Mu Bai. A scarlet light appeared, and the blood disappeared into nothingness. Boom. The Asura unicorn, who had no way of parrying, was instantly smashed to the ground. Mu Bai has not stopped yet. Bang bang bang. It seems that after the power of the god of destruction is fused, the power of destruction in the gene is unraveled. Mu Bai actually enjoyed the coolness of this battle. While under surveillance, the Asura unicorn, who was originally thought to be the strongest crop, can only be reduced to the role of a sandbag at this time. No matter how crazy, all scientists keep silent. At this moment, a sudden change occurred on the screen. Rumbling, thick and intense blue flames instantly enveloped the entire surveillance area. Pop pop, all external cameras turned into white snowflakes immediately. What happened? The old doctor was shocked.